Istanbul is one of those cities that laughs at labels. Call it East meets West, a bridge between continents, a history-soaked metropolis, sure, all true. But honestly, none of that gets close to what it feels like to actually be here. It's chaotic in a way that makes you grin, layered in history without feeling like a museum, and overflowing with so much good food you'll probably forget what hunger feels like. The streets hum with cats, mopeds, tea drinkers, late-night revelers, and people who seem to have already lived 10 different lives before noon. And yet, somehow, it doesn't feel overwhelming. It feels like an invitation to dig into a plate of something delicious, to walk into a centuries-old building and have your jaw hit the floor, or to hop a ferry and realize you're technically crossing continents for less than the price of a coffee back home. So let's talk about what you should actually do here. Not the watered-down guidebook version of Istanbul where you're herded in a crowd with 10,000 people holding selfie sticks, but the version that makes you feel like you've unlocked the city's secret levels. By the way, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. It helps me keep making these deep dives into cities around the world. And remember, every single spot I mention in this video is listed down in the description, complete with addresses and links so you can cherry. Pick what speaks to you and build your own Istanbul adventure. Now, Istanbul isn't a place you see in one trip. It's a place you taste, touch, hear, and stumble through. The skyline is all domes and minarets, but the soul of the city is in the little things. The hiss of tea being poured into tulip-shaped glasses, the smell of simit baking in street ovens, the clink of Reiki glasses over loud, animated conversations. And sure, you're going to want to see the big historic landmarks. Hagia Sophia, Blue Mosque, Basilica Cistern, Topkapı Palace. These are not overrated tourist traps. They're legit goosebump-inducing experiences. But balance is everything. For every landmark you check off, I'm going to give you somewhere unexpected, somewhere that makes you feel like you've sidestepped the herd and found a pocket of the city that's entirely yours. Let's start with the heavy hitters. Hagia Sophia Grand Mosque. You don't need me to oversell this one, it's one of the most iconic buildings in the world. I walked in expecting to be impressed, and I was still caught off guard. The scale, the detail, the sheer weirdness of a building that's been both church and mosque for 1,500 years. It's stunning. The acoustics alone are worth it. Even footsteps echo like they've got a story to tell. Then there's the Blue Mosque, right nearby with its 20,000 handmade tiles. It's free to enter when it's not prayer time, but time it right, and it feels like stepping into a kaleidoscope built by an empire. Across the street, you've got Basilica Cistern, which is basically a massive underground pool supported by towering columns. It's dim, it's damp, and it's dramatic. Some of the columns even have carved Medusa heads holding them up. It feels like the set of an indie film that never got made. Then, Topkapı Palace. Imagine living in a sprawling complex with jeweled daggers, a harem, and gardens overlooking the Bosphorus. The palace is as much about gossip and intrigue as it is about artifacts. But here's the move. After a few hours of grandeur, pivot. You've earned something offbeat. Slip into Zeyrek Sinili Hammam, a bathhouse that looks like it's been lifted straight from a Byzantine fever dream. You start with a glass of sherbet. Yes, pre-bathing cocktails are a thing here. Then step into a marble room, where attendants scrub, splash, and foam you into bliss. I walked out of there so squeaky clean, I swear my pores were singing. If you're more about art than steam, Istanbul Modern should be on your list. It's not some dusty collection of relics. This place is alive with Turkish contemporary art that grapples with migration, gender, identity, and technology, all against the backdrop of floor-to-ceiling windows looking out over the Bosphorus. Even the rooftop deck feels like a gallery with gulls staging their own performance art. Now let's talk neighborhoods, because Istanbul is a city of micro-worlds, each with its own flavor. Karakoy has reinvented itself as a hotspot, with harborside energy, fish sandwiches that could ruin you for life, and five-star hotels like the Peninsula Istanbul that make luxury feel playful, not stuffy. A short walk away, you've got Cihangir and Kukurkuma, full of antiques shops, winding streets, And bookshops like Frankenstein Kitabevi, queer feminist, fiercely independent, and exactly the kind of place you want to browse when you need a break from monuments. On the Asian side, Kadikoy is where you get real local energy. Food markets spilling into the street, bars that don't bother with pretense, and a deli called Gozde Sarkuteri, where you can load up on dips, olives, and cheeses that make a grocery run feel like a tasting menu. Right across the street, Özkan Tursu, 1935, is the holy land of pickles. Yes, pickle juice by the cup is a thing. And yes, it tastes exactly how you imagine. Sharp, bracing, and oddly addictive. Wash it down with a cocktail at Fari Consolos where pistachio and saffron aren't just flavors, they're characters in your night out. Speaking of food, Istanbul will ruin you for your hometown takeout. Turkish breakfast is a full-on event, and Kahve 6 is the place I keep coming back to. Their full-on breakfast spread looks like someone raided a farmer's market and decided to throw everything on the table. Mulberry jam, honey with K-Mac. Imagine clotted cream, but somehow better. Spicy tomato paste, olives, cheeses, breads, menemen. Scrambled eggs with peppers and tomatoes that taste like they've absorbed the entire Mediterranean sun. You don't eat this meal, you sign a treaty with it. If you're in the mood for something iconic but less obvious, hunt down Hokapasa Pidasisi. Pide is sometimes called Turkish pizza, but that's underselling it. Imagine a canoe-shaped flatbread topped with minced meat, melty Kassar cheese or veggies, baked until the edges blister. It's cheap, it's fast, and it's glorious. For street food that feels like fine dining, head to Meşhur Balıkçı Eyüp Usta in Karakoy for a grilled fish wrap with pomegranate molasses. It's sweet, it's savory, it's messy. You'll want a napkin and maybe a quiet moment to yourself after. For something fancier, Orchestra in Ediler is a trip. A remodeled 1960s villa turned into a Michelin-starred restaurant, bistro, and music lounge. The food is decadent, katsu sando, stone bass with yuzu butter, but the atmosphere is even better. It feels like you're dining on the set of a Wes Anderson remake of The Great Gatsby. Afterwards, slide into the listening room, sip a cocktail made with yogurt liqueur, and let a DJ spin vinyl until you forget what time is. And because dessert should always have its own category, baklava deserves your undivided attention. Karakoy Guloglu has been serving pistachio-loaded squares of perfection since 1949, and their cold baklava is a revelation. But don't stop there. Right next door, Mahizer Baklava Karakoy pushes the envelope with baklava ice cream sandwiches and fig pudding. Honestly, the best move is to grab a box from each and stage your own taste test. When you're ready to escape the chaos of the city, hop on a ferry to the Prince's Islands. Motor vehicles are banned, so the pace slows to bicycles, electric shuttles, and wandering on foot past Ottoman-era mansions. Buyukada is the largest, and yes, it's touristy, but also undeniably beautiful. A seafood dinner at Secret Garden restaurant here, paired with a sunset view, makes you forget the ferry back even exists. But don't think ferries are just for island getaways. One of the cheapest thrills in Istanbul is simply crossing from Europe to Asia or back for about $1. 20 minutes of Bosphorus views with the skyline glowing in gold and minarets stabbing the sky. I like to grab a tea on board and stand at the rail like I'm the protagonist in a low-budget indie film about self-discovery. Now, if nightlife is your jam, Istanbul's got you covered. Yapı Kredi Bomontiada is this buzzing entertainment complex anchored by Babylon, a legendary live music venue. The courtyard itself is alive with energy, people sipping beers from The Populist, checking out art spaces, or just vibing under the string lights. If Babylon's lineup doesn't hit, Salon, YKSV, or Blind will. Both spots curate acts that span indie rock, global beats, and experimental sounds. Shopping here is equally wild. Forget malls, hunt down local makers for artisan scarves, sweets, and quirky Turkish goods. Or dive into Turkish modern for everything from tiny evil eye jewelry to full-blown rugs. Van Golu Gita is where you grab spices that actually taste like something when you get home, not sad, dusty jars from your supermarket. And where do you sleep after all this? If your budget allows, the Peninsula Istanbul is a fantasy. Waterfront views, a hammam in the basement, a pool that practically dares you not to Instagram it. Orient Bank Hotel gives boutique vibes in a converted bank, complete with a jazz bar in the vault. And for those who want more of a lived-in neighborhood feel, Manas's rooms in Cihangir is your move. Apartment-style stays with enough space to feel like you belong here, not just visit. Now, a few practical notes, because Istanbul will test your stamina. Public transit is the way to go. Trams, subways, buses, ferries. One ride is about $1. You can tap your credit card and avoid the ticket machine headaches. Taxis? Abundant, but hit or miss. Some drivers will happily take you where you want to go. Others will quote you tourist prices or just refuse rides altogether. Uber and B-Taxi exist, but don't expect New York levels of reliability. And if you're walking, prepare for hills. Istanbul is cardio disguised as sightseeing. If you want to save yourself a sweaty 20-minute climb, the funiculars are your best friend. So here's the thing about Istanbul. It's not a city you conquer. It's a city you dance with. Sometimes it leads, sometimes you do. Sometimes it's all minarets at sunset and baklava under string lights. Other times it's getting lost in an alley, ducking into a bookshop, or sitting on a ferry just because you can. That's the magic of it. If you enjoyed this guide, hit that like button and subscribe for more unfiltered takes on cities worth your time. And don't forget, all the places I mentioned are linked down below so you can plan your own version of this wild, beautiful, addictive city. Until next time, keep your appetite wide, your curiosity wider, and remember, some cities aren't meant to be checked off, they're meant to be lived in.